Check, 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 check. Hey, friends, how y'all doing? We're gonna get started soon, so if you want to find a seat, please find a seat, and we'll get started in the next 30 seconds. I know folks are so happy to see new friends, as am I. All righty, Jamel's gonna start us out. Go ahead.
So first of all, I just want to say welcome everybody. Welcome to the Black Nashville Assembly Ballot Week. If you can hear my voice, if you can start clapping for me real fast. Good job. Now let's try it one more time so we get everybody's attention. If you can start clapping for me real fast, you get my voice. Okay, thank you. Again, welcome to the Black Nashville Assembly Ballot Week. We tried to do, this is our second forum. Our first one was at Jefferson Street Missionary Baptist Church, but we had candidates from District 1, District 2, and District 21. Also, just a little things, the restrooms are right outside, but we'll get started. This is kind of like the pre-show because we want to pick the energy up. So if you could do me a favor, I just want everybody to center themselves, get still for a second, and I want you to think about the change that you want to see. Just think about the change that you want to see. And a word of advice, if it only changed your reality, it's not big enough. So the change that you want to see has to include our community and our folks, because it doesn't matter if your next door neighbor is starving. It doesn't matter if you're full. So just hold that change real fast. Okay, great. So we like to set our attentions when we start. So this is a old song. I can't sing, so I'm gonna need your help. I'm gonna put the mic down. But I know we in the church, so I know a lot of people gonna know this song. Okay, so I need folks to follow. I got some people that's gonna follow me when I sing. Don't let me. There we go. Talk back to me. Don't let me start singing and everybody quiet. Okay, we don't want to start it like that. Y'all ready?
One more time for Jamel for getting the song started real quick. All right, how y'all doing? I'm Mike Floss. I'm a hip hop artist and community organizer with the Black Nashville Assembly. We want to welcome you out to our 2023 Mayoral Candidate Forum. Before we get started, I want to pass it over to the pastor to give a few words, and we want to say thank you to Pleasant Green Church for letting us be here today.
And what a blessing it is to have all of you here joining us on this great day. I want to give a shout out to Jamel and for all of the individuals who are part of. I believe it's so important to come together. Somebody believe it's important to come together. I believe we can do more together than we can apart. And so this is a wonderful time. I'm glad that you're here. The restrooms again are right out to my right, and welcome here to Pleasant Green Church.
Thank you so much. So just a few things. At the Black Nashville Assembly, we like to go over our community agreements. Basically, this says what the way we want to be in the space with each other together. So I'm gonna go through that real quickly. Principal struggle, which means we're not fighting for the sake of fighting. We're struggling together to get to a better place. Take space, make space. If you talk a lot, maybe chill a little bit. If you don't speak up enough, feel free to speak up. Growing edges. We know everybody's not showing up perfect. We're being aware of that, and we're growing together in real time. So we're showing grace. And also, it's a sacred space. We go through a lot of difficult conversations, but we also honor each other's dignity and respect each other through that process. No assumptions. We know we're acknowledging the way that Black folks show up in various forms and various gender identities. We're showing up in a plethora of ways, so we're not making assumptions on gender. You don't know somebody's pronouns, just ask them. And then consent. We practice consent as a community at all times. Sound good? Cool. So the objectives of the candidate forum is to determine the policies and programs that the mayoral candidates support. So we want to make sure that we're asking questions. There will be note cards that go through the crowd. If you have questions during the mayoral candidate forum, you can write it down on a note card. And as many of those as we can get through, we'll get through them. We also want to see how the mayoral candidates align or don't align with our political agenda. So over the past 3 years, the Black Nashville Assembly has developed a political agenda by talking to thousands of Black folks in the city and figuring out how do we put those demands and those needs in our communities into policy recommendations that the mayoral candidates and city council candidates can choose to support or not support. So this is our opportunity to see who aligns with that agenda that the people have put together. And then also provide an opportunity for voters to get informed about who's going to be on the ballot this August. Some of our job is also voter registration and making sure folks are ready to make their voice heard at the ballot box. Sound good for everyone? Y'all ready to get into this? Give me some energy now. So I'm going to pass it over at this time to Jamel, who's going to go over the responsibilities of the mayor.
Hey, y'all, so real fast, I'm going to get up here and get right back out your way, and I'm going to pass it to Erica so we can get this started. But we like to start everything with just starting at the ground level. So our system of local politics is called a mayor-dominant system. That's exactly what that sounds like, right? Our mayor can pass any legislation, veto any law, and pretty much use their power at will. Now, the city council is a check on that mayor's power. Also, another thing that's important to remember, especially as our budget grows, right? Between last year and this year, our budget grew by almost 15%, that our mayor presents a budget to the city council, and the city council has an allotted amount of time to amend it, okay? If they can't agree on amending the budget, then the mayor's budget just goes straight through. Also, as a community organizer, we've also seen the mayor's office, the current mayor, use his power to backdoor sometimes some of our more progressive legislation. So when it came to things like license plate readers or other things that some of you all have seen us advocate for, we've literally had city council members tell us that the mayor's office was telling them to vote against what we were trying to do. So when you hear this, and when we talk about who's the mayor, it's important several reasons. One, again, mayor-dominant system. Two, control the budget. And three, can sometimes dictate the political will of the city council. Okay? I see a bunch of head nods. So okay, I must be saying something right because there's a lot of educated people in the crowd. So I'm like, okay, I said everything right there. All right, before we move on, are there any questions about the role of the mayor? Because we want to make sure everybody is fully understanding of what we're talking about here. Okay, no questions. So y'all give it up for Erica one more time. She's our facilitator today.
Thank you so much. So we're going to start with the candidate forum. I'll invite the candidates to come to the stage, and you'll be sitting in alphabetical order. I'm sure y'all probably used to that by now. So you have microphones in most of your chairs. Some folks might have to share, but yeah, as they're coming, thank you so much again to all the candidates who are joining us. Come, this side. Maybe, so let's get Natasha Brooks on the far left side. And then we'll put our last person, which I think is Jeff Yarbrough right here. Thank you for asking it. Yeah, so we'll have Natasha Brooks. Natisha, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for correcting me. Natisha Brooks, Ms. Fran Bush, Representative Heidi Campbell, Jim. Do I see Jim? Okay, over there. Yep. Sharon Hurt, Councilmember Sharon Hurt. Stephanie Johnson, who I think is coming. And then Freddie O'Connor. Yep, y'all got it. Thank you so much again for participating in our candidate forum. And again, I want to thank, and you can please feel free to take a seat. I want to thank again Pastor Jackson and Pleasant Green Baptist Church for also giving us the space to be here. We are always grateful to be in Pleasant Green. This is our second forum here. And so again, thank you so much for allowing us again here. And Pleasant Green is such a meaningful part of our community and our work. Oh, we need one more chair. Thank you so much. We can get one. Thank you. I'm sorry. All righty, there you go. Thank you, friends. So hopefully everybody has water. All righty. And so I'll tell y'all a bit about how it's gonna go, and hopefully you figure out how to turn on your microphones. But we're gonna go for about an hour and 20 minutes with questions that we've prepared, and our questions come to us from our assemblies and yes, please join us. Oh, no, you're good. Yes. Thank you so much. And so I'm gonna go over the rules, but we'll go for about an hour and 20 minutes. And then we'll take a brief break so folks can use the restroom, because I'm like, it's a long time to be up here. And then we'll take audience questions. And so, yes, let me pull up the rules. I'll start us off with the rules. So we'll give folks 60 seconds, why are you running for mayor? And then we'll have 90 seconds to answer questions, except for questions that are like yes or no. Some questions are yes or no. And then, one thing we added is candidates have 30 seconds to respond or rebuttal a point that another person made, right? But it has to be a rebuttal. Like, for example, I might believe that every Black National Assembly member should have black shirts. Mike may believe that Black National Assembly members should have orange. So we can rebut that, right? It isn't a space to make a statement. It actually has to be something maybe counter to what another person has said. And then there's another piece. If someone says something directly about the opponent, the other person gets 30 seconds to respond. So again, if I'm like, Mike Floss tennis shoes are not nice, he can respond and say, actually, right? Right, he can respond. You have nice tennis shoes, Mike. I like them. And then again, we'll end with a 60-second closing. And then, friends, if you have questions throughout the candidate forum, we have our friends, Brandon and Trey, have note cards for you, and I believe pins for you to write on the note cards, and they'll collect them during the restroom break. You can give them to them, and then we'll start asking those questions when we get back from restroom break. Does that sound good to y'all? That sound good to y'all? Okay, great. And then timekeeper.
You only get 2 rebuttals.
Yeah, thank you. You get 2 rebuttals. You get through, so you want to use them well. It's like those challenges that they have football and basketball. You don't get many. You just get 2. And then we have a timekeeper. Ebony, if you want to raise your hand, she's on the front row. So Ebony will give you the yellow when you have 30 seconds left, and then the red when it's time to stop. So again, Yellow is 30 seconds. Red is when it's time to stop. That sound good to y'all? Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. So we'll get started. So if we want to start a 60-second opening, why are you running for mayor? And we'll start there on the end with Mrs. Brooks.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. My name is Natisha. They call me Natisha R. Miss Brooks. I am running to be your next Nashville mayor because Tennessee teachers and Tennessee students matter. We want to make sure that our teachers and our educators, especially special ed educators, are paid well, $70,000 a year to start, and plus living stipends during the summer. And I'll get into that more because a lot of teachers don't get paid during the summer. Also, I'm a 33-year, I am now retired, special ed, homeschool. I've done private school, public school, homeschool. I'm now retired educator. Our officers that protect us, we have got to do something about crime, and we're 240 members short, if not more, on officers. Going back to our communities, we need more community programs for our children. My name is Natisha. They call me Natisha R. Miss Brooks. Thank you for having me.
Can you hear me? Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fran Bush. I am a native Nashvilleian. I went to all Nashville public schools. I went to the Tennessee State University where I met my husband. We have 5 sons, Desmond, Dylan, Daniel, David, and Dalton. Yes, it's a tongue twister, I'm telling you. I am an entrepreneur. I have 3 child care academies in Antioch. I am a community leader. I have been an HOA president since 2001. And I am your former school board where I represented 80,000 students, families, parents, teachers, bus drivers, all that great stuff. While I'm running for next mayor, because you have to be intentional. The work that I did, I moved mountains over on the school board. I got our kids back into the classroom, especially kids that were social, economically disadvantaged. And that was important because mentally, emotionally, our students were suffering. Also a budget. I made sure our budgets aligned with our schools and also infrastructure. I also voted in favor. My record has always been perfect when it comes to voting for infrastructure and new schools. Thank you so much. I'm Fran Bush.
Hey, everybody. My name is Heidi Campbell. I am a current state senator for District 20 in Tennessee and a former mayor of Oak Hill. I'm the only person here who has been a mayor in the city of Nashville and served with the Greater Nashville Regional Council Mayor's Caucus, which is important because a lot of our issues are regional. I am running for mayor because my tagline for my campaign is, are we building a city to visit or a city to live in? I think a lot of people who grew up in Nashville, like I do, feel like we've been focused for a long time on people who are coming here and helping out-of-town developers and not helping people who live here in Nashville. And that's why we have issues with affordability. Our city is down at heel. We have potholes and all kinds of litter everywhere. And I know that people would like to feel like we're taking care of Nashville in the future. So my focus is going to be on nurturing the people who live here.
Hey, everybody. My name's Jim Gingrich. If you have a city that grows but grows without a plan, you have the things that we all feel every day and what it costs to live here and how our neighborhoods change, underfunded infrastructure, challenges with rising crime, the congestion that we all deal with every day. The frustrating part is that we have been talking about those same issues for more than a decade. Go back and watch the 2015 mayoral debates. We were talking about them then, and yet these issues are worse today than they've ever been because our leaders have been kicking the can and not stepping up to the tough challenges that come when you grow. I am not like other candidates. I'm not an insider. I'm a former business executive that oversaw thousands of employees and a multi-billion-dollar budget. And I got to that position because I showed time and again that I'm willing to take on a tough problem and I get things done. That's what I'll do for Nashville. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sharon Hurt. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And I am the change that this city needs at this time. I have worked in this community on Jefferson Street for 25 years, giving a quarter of a century of my life working in the trenches. I have seen, and I know it every day, in and out, that there is a tale of two cities, and we need to have a change. We need more equity economically. We need accessibility. I live it every day. I work it every day, and I've done it for 25 years trying to make a change for this community. I am the change that this city needs. You all know me. I've done affordable housing, transportation, workforce development, you name it, I've done it. I get it done. I am the leader, and I want to restore hope and prosperity on every block in every community.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Johnson and StephForMayor.com, and I'm running because Music City is out of tune. The music is playing really good in some parts of town. It's really off in other parts. We have a homicide rate that's 70% of homicides are Black people, 60% are Black men. That's out of tune. We have some schools that have and some schools that have not. We have some schools that have a 40% poverty rate and some schools that are fine. We have potholes on some side of town and they're filled in other parts of town. And so the inequities are so stark. Prices are raising up on housing and some people can hold on and some people are not. And so I don't believe that we've been doing what we absolutely need to do to stop the music and say, hey, let's fix it. And so I'm here to conduct the music and play it right.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Freddie O'Connell. I grew up in Nashville. I've lived in 37208 for the past 17 years. We got here because we became a Meharry family in 2007. I want to appreciate Councilmember Hurt for taking me under her wing. It's the leader at Jump back then and helping teach me about Jefferson Street, and I was eager to learn about the history. I know Pastor Jackson, appreciate him for hosting us in this space, and I'll just acknowledge it right up front. I'm a straight white guy, and you all are Black Nashville Assembly, and I appreciate you all holding some space for us and inviting us in. Often we are charged with going into spaces, but I know as you all have been trying to build Black political power, it has not been appropriate for me to go in unless invited, and I appreciate the invitation today. It is going to be an election about preparedness and priorities. The day after the Titan Stadium vote that I voted no on the deal, I went to the community needs evaluation. That's what I'm going to be focused on. Thank you.
Well, I didn't know he was a straight white guy. Now I know that. I'm Vivian Wilhoy. I came here 40 years ago to attend school at Tennessee State University. I married a gentleman who was from your home, right here, Larry Wilhoy. And now Larry and I, we have 2 adult boys. And we have 2 dogs, Bella and Teddy. Sometimes I think they love me more than my boys. But that's okay. Let me just say this. As the assessor of property, which is what I am right now, I put to work what needs to be done. Diversity. I looked and saw that we had too many straight white men, okay? And we needed more African Americans who are going to be in the position of being an assessor. Because being an assessor, that means we are doing 59% of the city's budget in the work that we do. Let's put someone in the office of mayor that's doing the work, been doing the work. $8.1 million of investment, of a budget is what I run. 85 staff, and our staff is diverse. I believe in putting fries with that shake, and so one of the things I'm running on is to make sure that our Metro employees are paid competitively. I ask you to vote for Vivian as your mayor. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hold on.
There we go. Jeff will figure that out. Good afternoon. There we go. My name is Matt Wilshire, and I'm asking for your vote. I am a Nashville native, born and raised, grew up here, graduated from Metro Nashville Public Schools. I attended Edge Hill United Methodist Church growing up with Reverend Bill Barnes. Marjorie, there you go. And I am honored to be with you here today. I am asking for your vote because things are just not working right in Nashville today, and they should be working better. I've spent time working for Nashville over the last 15 years. I was in the private sector for 15 years and then worked in the mayor's office for the last 8. And then for the last 3 years, I spent working on affordable housing at MDHA. And I think that there are a lot of things that we can be doing better in this city. I'm excited to be here with you, to listen to you. I'm Matt Wilshire. I'm asking for your vote.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Yarbrough, and I'm asking for your vote to be the next mayor of Nashville. For the last 2 decades, I've been serving this city as a M&PS school volunteer, as a member of the board of the Metropolitan Transit Authority, and for the last 9 years in the Tennessee State Senate, where I've been fighting the fight of this city against a legislature that's not always really looking out for our best interest. But I've still managed to get things done and bring people together even in that environment, and I'm excited about what we can do in Nashville if we focus on the future and actually work together on our problems. I'm asking for your vote because Nashville deserves a mayor that's going to make this city work and make it work for all of us. I think that means keeping people safe, educating our children, and dealing with growth. We got to get a handle on the growth because we know that the housing, transportation, services have not kept up, and it's leaving people behind, and we got to do better. I'm Jeff Yarbrough, and I look forward to talking with you today. Thanks.
Thank you so much for your for the opening. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yep, I'm gonna try to get the mic situated. I just want to name before we get into the questions. We're on YouTube Live, so our Black National Assembly YouTube is playing it live. Thank you to the church for making sure that happens. So you can go back and look at it or send it to friends who couldn't make it. And then also just want to name that, of course, Black National Assembly as a project of the Southern Movement Committee is a nonprofit 501c3, and we cannot make endorsements, but we do want to make sure voters are educated. So that leads me to our education question. This is a yes or no question. So we know that Metro Nashville Public School students receive close to $11,000 per student in funding. And so the question is, will you commit to fully funding education in Davidson County by allocating at least $30,000 per student from the city of Nashville, Davidson County actual budget? And this feels really important because y'all know what our students are going through and know that, you know, many of our students don't have what they need. We know that from the young people we work with. So this is a yes or no question again. Will you commit to, as mayor, fully funded education in Davidson County by allocating at least $30,000 per student from the city of Nashville budget? And we can start on the end.
Just a yes.
Yes or no? Yep. Yes or no?
And the number was 30,000?
30,000 per student.
No.
Not this year.
Yes, fully fund, but to look into 30,000. I can't give a yes though. I apologize, but I will look into it. Yes.
No.
I would have to check the numbers too to see if that was possible. I'm sorry, I want to say yes, but.
Speak up a little bit.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yep.
Okay, she's saying no. So, hello, can you hear me? Okay. I would love to say yes. I would say let's see if we can get those numbers up. So
it's a no. Thank you so much.
No.
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 Yes, I will fully fund Metro Nashville Public Schools, and because I've been a part of that process of budget, I will take a deep dive to see how much more funding our students will need. Thank you.
Yes, we got the Titan Stadium, so there's money somewhere.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the next question is about education again. And so we know that I'm curious on what is your approach to ensuring that each student, teacher, and support staff has the resources they need to be successful and safe in Metro Nashville Public Schools? So we can start on this other end this time.
Could you repeat the?
Oh yeah, for sure. So what is your approach, if mayor, to ensuring or making sure that each student, teacher, and support staff has the resources they need to be successful and safe at Metro Nashville Public Schools?
Absolutely. Thank you. How much time do I have for the question? Is it
90 seconds?
90 seconds. Okay, thank you. Yes. As your mayor, I'm committed to teachers, definitely special ed teachers making $70,000 a year plus stipend, and being able to have a living stipend to live in the city that they serve and teach. As far as the curriculum and the supplies, we want to make sure that working with the school board, that it is even keel across the board. Belmead area should not have more than Antioch area. Antioch area should not have any more than Inglewood area. As far as the resources to protect, we need to fortify our schools. As far as SROs, we need to speak with Chief Drake. And the reason why we need to be careful when a candidate talks about SROs, we don't even have enough police officers to police our streets. So as far as SROs are determined in each school, we want to make sure that the schools are fortified for our children and our students' protection. As far as monies for after school programs, because we have parents that work second shift jobs. Everybody does not work 8 to 5 jobs. So we have parents that work second shift jobs, and we want to make sure that our after school programs go not just until 6 o'clock, but maybe 7 or 8 o'clock. And finally, trade schools matter. We want to make sure that our trade schools are fully funded. Everybody's not going to college. And those that don't go to college, we need to start talking entrepreneurship in our minority communities. Thank you for the question.
Yes, one of the things that we did when we were on the school board is that we made sure that year to year that we want to make sure that our schools are fully funded. This past year, we operated off a $1 billion budget, and we did pretty well. The problem right now is that we're short on teachers. It's not that we're not fully funded, it's that we have to be able to support our teachers because they are in the trenches every single day, along with our bus drivers, our support staff. So we have to do that. And that's the reason why I voted in favor for the highest pay raises right here in the state of Tennessee. And I've always been very consistent about voting and advocating for teacher raises. Now, do they need more? Absolutely. Do we all need more? Absolutely. And as your next mayor, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on equity, because it's really important to have an even keel across the city when it comes to all neighborhoods. When it comes to crime and safety, before I left the school board, that was one of the things that I pushed for, and that was having an SRO in every school. However, it doesn't have to be an SRO. It can be an outside contracted security company, because we do know that Metro Nashville Police Department is very shorthanded when it comes to our police officers. So it's very important to make sure our schools are safe. The other thing I want to push for also, if I'm your next mayor, is to make sure that every bottom level of the school has glass, protected glass, which is the bulletproof glass. This is what we're seeing across this nation as far as our school safety. And as your next mayor, I am going to prioritize on that. Thank you so much.
So Nashville is one of the most redlined cities in the country, and that means that we have inequities that are really profound with the haves and the have-nots, where we have schools like Glendale and Hume Fogg and Martin Luther King that do so well, some of the best schools in the country, and parents that support those schools and are able to put a lot of money into those schools, and then schools where we have people who are struggling just to get by, and the schools that don't have the support that they need. We have to triage that inequity. And the best way to do that in a state that's not going to be fully funding education anytime soon is to implement community school organizers. Community school organizers are individuals who are hired per school, and their day job is to build support around the school out in the community, from churches, nonprofits, and stakeholders in the community, specifically targeted towards what the kids and families in those schools need. This program works really well in other parts of our state, Knoxville in particular. We've done it at H.G. Hill School here, and that's a really affordable way to start to triage the inequities so that we can start to work on building more support from the state level.
So my mom never went to college because her family couldn't afford it. My dad was raised by a single mom who was a beautician. He did somehow make his way to college, and they built a better life than their parents. I'm a product of public schools. I was lucky enough to build a better life for my parents. My kids are also products of public schools. But the dream of every kid should be able to build a better life than that of their parents. There's nothing more than investing in our children. Unfortunately, today, 4 in 10 kids of color in Nashville live in poverty. And if you are born poor in Nashville, you are more likely to remain poor than in 80% of the major cities in the United States. That is unacceptable. We need to be investing in our kids, and that starts with investing in our education system. As mayor, I'm not going to take a back seat. I'm going to be committed and be the first one who's accountable for improving the outcomes in our schools. I'm going to sit down with
the superintendent, and the board, and we're going to build a comprehensive plan to improve the outcomes over a 5-year period. And I'm committed to funding that plan, and I'm committed to holding those involved accountable, starting with me. We also need to keep every one of our kids safe, not just in school, but 24/7.
Thank you. First, let me just say that Metro funds the school. Half of its budget goes to the schools. It is not the mayor's job or the council's job to determine how much money goes to each student. That's left up to the school board. The money goes to them and they determines what happens. So I am committed to fully funding the schools for them to be able to do what it is that they must do. The second thing, in terms of safety, I am very interested in the weapon detection systems. I know that they are looking at them in Clarksville school systems in order to make sure that our children and our teachers are protected. I am also interested in making sure that every family has hope and prosperity, that they have the opportunity to succeed and have a quality of education regardless of their zip code. And I will work with the entire community. We've got to focus on the ecosystem, not only just the students, but we've got to work with the parents. We've got to work with those who care for them and ensure that they have an opportunity to learn. I am about making sure that we no longer have that pipeline to prison, but a pipeline to prosperity. That's why I'm going to make sure that in the first grade, every Nashville student will be able to read.
Okay, so in my first 4 years, I want to push school funding to 1.5 billion. And one of the things we talk about safety, and there was a program implemented in a school where they put a father program into the school, and it reduced crime 100%. I've already reached out to my friend and showed him this, and he's began to talk to fathers as we talk about school violence. Also, support staff, I would love to see their pay be raised to $25 an hour. Also, I'm going to be visiting over 100 plus Metro schools, and I've already started. I went to one school, and me and the principal talked. He said something that he would like to see is support for the parents. We can do all we can in the schools, but if we don't go outside the school and support the parents in implementing what they have, then it's not going to work. And so adding a program to support kids outside the school. We also can add educator housing, which will help incentivize teachers to be closer to schools and also be at our schools. And then we have, so we talk about $11,000 per kid. I didn't know there was money on my head, right? Most of the kids don't know that there's money on their head. And so how can we create a metric to ensure that the money that's allocated to each student is actually being appropriately allocated in the school? Could we implement some type of basic income where that money is actually being implemented and supported to those children?
Safer schools exist in safer communities. I want to talk a little bit about some of the work we've already accomplished in District 19 and one of the most challenging school and community environments in Napier, out by Napier and Sudicum. There's this Napier Elementary. And years ago, we fought off an effort to convert the school to a charter school that erased the name of J.C. Napier from the school. And we elevated an assistant principal with a passion for the community. And she turned the school from a priority school, which is the list you don't want to be on in the state, to a reward school through hard work directly with the community. Community Achieves doesn't just exist in one school at H.D. Hill. It exists in dozens of schools, and we were lucky to expand it to dozens more schools this year with federal funding. That's one-time funding, but it's funding I'm going to protect because Community Achieves is a program that brings in community partners like we did in Napier. Some of those community partners helped us focus on safer lighting for the community. They helped us focus on safer traffic calming and infrastructure, crosswalks to get people to and from libraries. And they helped us implement a walking school bus so that students could walk with adults free of fear from bullying, which was a big issue. And I want the academic opportunities for those students to be reflected in the highest teacher pay in Tennessee, which we have established here in Nashville, and increases in support staff. We need to continue those. Now, those students at Napier will go on to Two Rivers. That's a tougher commute for folks, and I want to make sure we have a transit system that supports them too. Thanks.
I feel like I need a some type of napkin across my knee, so I'm going to stand if you don't mind. Fully funding school is very critical, and we must continue to do that. But fully funding school without accountability is also critical. So what we have to do is once we fully fund schools and give the instructions in reference to how we would like to see our schools to thrive, we must make a checklist and make sure those things were done. We'll continue to fully fund school because that is the way we get our workforce down the road. So inside of fully funded school, I want to also say, as I continue to say, we have to pay teachers competitively. We've started paying teachers competitively for the first time this year. We have to continue. We can't just pay them competitively this year and then next year don't give them any type of raise. They're like the crab in the bucket, going right back down again. We have to continue to fully fund teachers, staff, and all Metro employees. In reference to also keeping students safe, unfortunately, what happened at Covenant School was a sad situation. It was bad. It was atrocious. We can keep our students safe by first providing the officers at the school. Let them be equipped with guns. I am not for teachers being equipped with guns, but the officers, let them be prepared. There's a lot of also technology that's out right now keeping students safe in reference to moving walls so that students and teachers are safely in a certain area. And I would like to look at those opportunities. And then, okay, devil's work is you know the saying of devil's workshop. We must expand our programs in reference to after-school programs. That's so very important. I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
So Erica, including the state portion, we're now spending about $15,000 per student. But in Nashville, the city is providing 80% of the funding for every kid. And in other counties, the state is providing 80%. So the first thing is we have to work better with the state to get more equitable funding for the students in Nashville. And I want to commend Council Members Hurt and O'Connell and the administration on getting Nashville's teachers to be the highest paid teachers in the state. They should be. It's the most expensive city in the state. But that is not enough. And this is where I'm making an ask of you. I believe that we can significantly increase funding for Metro Nashville Public Schools. My son John graduated from Hillsborough last year. I'm a graduate of Metro Nashville Public Schools. There are insufficient resources for teachers. There's no college counselor at Hillsborough High School. There are 3 college counselors at Harpeth Hall. We're spending $15,000 per kid. That's better than 11. But the tuition at the elite private schools in this city, $34,000, $35,000, about the level that you identified. There is a gap there. And either you think the parents who send their kids to those schools, including me and others on this stage, are morons, or they're getting a return on their investment. And so we have to increase funding, but we need to increase the political will to do that. And I commit to work with you to make that happen.
Let's be clear, the education that Nashville provides my 2 children, both of whom attend Nashville Public Schools, rising 2nd grader, rising 9th grader, it's the most important thing that Nashville does for my family. And I know that's true for lots of families across the city. And if we're being honest with ourselves, we know that we're not doing right by all our kids and not doing right by all our families. For the last 5 years, I've been working significantly with Ramesh Akberry, leading the charge to really dramatically increase the amount of funding that should go into public education, focusing a lot on what teachers make. Because if you cannot be a great public education city, if it's not a great city to be a public school educator. And it's great news that we're now the highest paid in the state. But that doesn't say much when you got a state that structurally underfunds education and when you're in a city that's got an affordable housing crisis. I actually think we should have down payment assistance programs for those teachers. I've done significant work even before I was in the legislature to make sure that we have those community-based programs that support our schools so that we can actually align services on mental health, nutrition, outside health, family issues, community issues, because we are putting so much on our teachers, and the city's got a lot of role to play in serving those community interests, and let teachers do what they do best and focus on educating kids.
Thank you so much for your answer to that question. I feel like we all learned a lot. And I'm happy that you mentioned the disparity in how the state funds Metro Nashville Public Schools compared to other counties. Because it also leads to the next question, which is about state legislation that was passed and signed by the governor, this spring. And so one piece of the legislation focused on discouraging in the way that it will be implemented, discourages teachers from honoring students' pronouns and gender identity. Then there's also a piece of legislation that passed preventing mandatory implicit bias training for educators and school staff. So it prohibits adverse employment actions for school staff who refuse to do implicit bias training. And that's of course concerning to us because we, understand and know that Black students are disproportionately pushed out. The police are disproportionately called on Black students. And then we also know that income of your household and students with disabilities, queer and trans students are also more likely to be pushed out of school through the school to prison pipeline or through arrest and ISS and school suspension. And so my question is, what is the way that you, if becoming mayor, how will you protect vulnerable students, considering that some of the ways that Metro Nashville Public Schools could traditionally support students are kind of being taken away from us or undermined through through the legislation from the state? We started on this. We can start right here this time. Is that okay? Sure. Okay, great.
Well, thank you for mentioning that. And I think that the increasingly conflict-oriented role the state's playing is one of the reasons this isn't a business as usual mayor's race, as they are absolutely threatening the way that we do business in this city. I oppose those pieces of legislation because I think they're offensive. And we actually stopped that one of those pieces of legislation for a couple of years, but the big dam sort of burst this year and things really went dark on our city. But you do not lead through sheer regulations. Like, that is not what leadership is about. And what the next mayor has to be crystal clear about what the values of this city are and making sure that every person in our city is welcome, safe, secure, and given every opportunity to thrive. That's not going to happen through the mandatory DEI workshops anymore, but that does not mean it does not happen through leadership. It starts at the top and works its way all through this city. We have to demand that. We have to expect it out of our mayor. We have to expect it out of our superintendent, our principals, our police chief, and every other institution in our city, because those values matter to us, and we have to draw a line in the sand and defend them against all comers.
So this gets back to the earlier question about funding. The difference is there are individualized support services for kids when you're spending $30,000 per pupil. And when you're at $15,000 per pupil with great teacher pay, but no services, you're asking teachers to do everything. You're asking teachers to teach AP chemistry and do a great job educating the kids and make sure they get a 5 on that AP exam, and also deal with truancy and hunger and behavioral issues. There are 144 languages spoken in the homes of the kids who attend Metro Nashville Public Schools. And that diversity is a wonderful thing for our city. We should be a welcoming city. But when you are asking teachers to do all of that and giving them no support services, and now some folks in the state legislature want to arm teachers. So now you're a cop too with a gun in a room full of teenagers. You are asking them to do an impossible thing. And so these issues are one of providing support services for the teachers so that the teachers can focus on teaching and the kids can focus on learning in the classroom. And that starts with increasing public-private partnerships. I've already spoken with the Community Foundation and other nonprofits about how we marshal the nonprofit and philanthropic community to better support students. And then it comes down to funding.
I like hearing my colleagues say the increasing of public-private partnership. That's so very important because the schools cannot do it alone. When you're talking about the fact that we fully fund education, again, it cannot stop right there. We must have accountability. So we're going to protect our children from those type of external discriminations. We want to make sure that the school system is doing exactly what they're supposed to do, making not only our school welcoming as much as the mayor wants to make our city welcoming. When my son was small, when he was young, he had to do an IEP, individual educational plan. And I felt like he was discriminated against because of the fact we were requesting some time from the school system to help him to be the best that he can be. But that was something that was needed and necessary for him. And that's the type of service that should be provided to all parents, not just because of what you look like, but sometimes not the way you learn. So we must not only fully fund education, but we must also make it be accountable. And and how we do it is by doing our checks at every year to see where we are as a school system and where we are as a city. That's so very important. I'm Vivian Wilhoit, and I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
You all probably remember a few years ago when the Driving While Black in Nashville report came out that showed we were provably pulling over people as part of a traffic stop program based on the color of their skin. I mean, it was inarguable data. It was backed up by a national nonprofit organization outside of the city. And when our older daughter enrolled in metro schools for the first time at Aiken Elementary, where I had attended as well, and Matt too, we found something troubling that had just been identified, which was effectively an in-school suspensions while black program. Fortunately, we had school leadership that was new. We had a strong PTO willing to work on those issues, and we drove down the bias of in-school suspensions. It is a problematic issue, and PTOs matter. I'm proud to see what Christian Bugs is doing, trying to make sure that more schools that lack PTOs get them, even if it's an umbrella organization. It matters to have parents involved directly in schools, and PTOs are critically important, and we don't always see them. It's like Community Achieves. If you're a Community Achieves school, more often than not, you're not going to have a strong PTO. We need that. I want to see Christian Bugs succeed in what she's doing and delivering more PTO activity around the city. Similarly, Aiken, while our older daughter was there, participated in Project Lit. It's moving exactly the other way from the state and trying to increase the diversity of what librarians are offering, and we need to support our school librarians. Thank you.
Okay, so I went to Neely's Bend and they put me in ISS probably every single day for the most silliest reasons. I was bullied. I didn't have support in my church, didn't have support in home. My teachers were not support. I never had an advocate anywhere in schools. And so I have a huge heart for schools and kids being bullied and not having advocates. And so they want to report teachers and set up a hotline for that. I'm going to set up a hotline for students and tell us what's happening. Tell us if you're being discriminated against, and then we'll show up and we'll support you. Having the dads in the schools and ensuring that they're safe and things like that. Now they have advocates, setting up safe places for them, however they want to identify or talk about racial issues. After the Covenant shooting happened, I asked the board to say, hey, why don't we give these kids space today to just meditate, to talk about their issues? We can talk about policy all day, but we're human beings and we have to respond in communal ways sometimes. Also having a state policy team that's refereeing back and forth between state and city. We talk about school funding, but we don't talk about the public process. There's a public process to getting school funding. Why are we not engaging our community to be up there and fighting for our money? This is a communal problem, so we have to respond in a communal way.
Thank you. I believe that it is absolutely necessary for a village to come together. I am going to do exactly what I've done every summer with our children because the schools are not doing it. I think it's all about leadership. We've seen what the school system has done to some great leaders that we've had as superintendents. We know that there is discrimination. And when things happen like that, we know in our community that we have to come together. We have to make sure that we teach our kids. We have to keep them safe. We have to provide them with the programs that they need. We have to educate them. It is accountability. And the accountability doesn't just stop with the schools. It starts in the home. It's also in our churches. We've got to include the churches to help us raise our children. So many of our parents are working and they're unable to do it themselves. So we've got to come together and help. There's a program called a Blue Ribbon Program where we are able to bring the community and the families together. We've got to restore hope and prosperity on every family. I don't know if you all know this poem about, but you don't live on my street. We've got so many kids that know and want to learn, but they don't have the opportunity.
So I think we all know that one of the greatest strengths of Nashville is our diversity. It's something that's easy to talk about, but I think it's also important to say, what did somebody do before they were up on this stage? I was the individual who set up the DEI program at my former employer. Reported to me. I hired the first DEI officer. When we moved to Nashville, each one of our executives had specific targets about what they needed to achieve from a diversity standpoint. It's also important, though, that that reflects, as Jeff said, in the values then that the mayor shows every day, and that in the support that we provide our kids. I was the victim of bullying in school. In second grade, I couldn't read. And I had to be put into a separate program to let me catch up. And I was fortunate enough that my school, even though it was a public school, had that level of resource. And we know in Nashville, not every kid is starting in the same place. Everybody has different needs. And how we fund the schools and how we coordinate nonprofit involvement, what we do with after-school programs, we need to recognize that all of us have different needs, and I'm committed to supporting that as mayor.
I don't actually agree that this is about funding. I think that this is about a state. The state right now is trying to divide us. And we need to come together as a community and reject that attempt to divide us. And we need a mayor who models that. The bully pulpit of the mayor is very, very important. And the mayor's office should also serve as a venture catalyst, not a venture capitalist, but a venture catalyst. And that is connecting opportunity with need. That is lifting up organizations like the Black Nashville Assembly, like Gideon's Army, like the Equity Alliance. That is lifting up the organizations that have already been doing the hard work of supporting Nashvillians and bringing Nashville together, because it is through those organizations that we win. And I know this because I won my Senate seat by supporting Gideon's Army. And the reason that that happened is because the opposition decided to go after me for supporting Gideon's Army, and Nashville said, no, we support Gideon's Army. They cleaned up North Nashville.
So this is where I have to be very transparent. As you heard me earlier, you heard me tell you that I have 5 sons, 5 African-American boys, Black and brown boys. Right now, we're seeing a huge disparity amongst our Black boys and our men. Raising 5 boys has not been easy, not in the city of Nashville. Now, I will tell you, I've kept all of them out of jail. Now, I will tell you, that middle one, I can tell you, I got to keep praying, right? But my point of it is that we have to make sure that we're supporting our parents. We have to support our parents. It is absolutely critical. When I was on the school board and it was time to get our students back into the classroom, because mentally, emotionally, and physically, our students were suffering, especially our Black and brown students. When I was on the board, when I looked at the data and I looked at where our Black and brown boys were on the list of academia, they were always at the bottom of the list. We have to start being more intentional, and that's exactly what I can do because I have the experience. I know how to keep my Black and brown boys out of jail and keep them educated. Now, has it always been easy? No. We have to have support. I have empowered parents while I was on the school board on knowing how to get the work done for their students. If it was a child being on an IEP or a child that just really needs help in reading and writing. And we have to support our nonprofits. We have to build more power with our nonprofits by investing more in our nonprofit organizations. Thank you so much.
Listen, the discrimination starts with the third grade retention that's happening at the state legislature right now. That's what we need to be talking about. Amen. We are not, everybody is not a test taker. My son does not have to study and he can pass the ACT with flying colors. He's an attorney now. And then my daughter, who studied like crazy, couldn't pass a test because of dyslexia. So, what as a mayor, and I heard somebody said a mayor doesn't do this. The job as a mayor, and that's why I say send an educator to, as a mayor, to bridge the gap between us and the state to get more money for us. The third grade retention plan is awful. We need to do something better than the third grade retention plan. Have you looked at the test? I am a curriculum director. I study curriculum. If you can't pass the third grade test, I looked at the third grade test. So what does it mean to our minority, 50% plus minority? I see senators shaking her head on the third grade retention. That should be out. There needs to be different measures of placement as we go from third grade to fourth grade. And finally, our teachers, the one thing teachers, listen to me very carefully. As mayor, I will advocate for you to do away with the Praxis test. That is discriminatory as well. We would get better teachers if we didn't have to have all the pressure of tests.
Thank you so much for that, answering those questions. So we have two more questions from us, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll start getting questions from the audience. So the next one is about housing. And one piece of it, so, if you were able to vote on the Titan Stadium, did you vote yes or no? And if you weren't able to vote, how would you have voted? And if you could explain your choice. And I think we can start on this end this time. Sound good?
So I've said it on all of my social media, NatishaForNashville.com, Natisha Brooks 16. As mayor, I would like to take it to a second vote on the Titan Stadium. I would have voted no. This is something that should have been on the ballot. And the reason why I said it should have been on the ballot is because I want to know what Antioch's going to get for it. I want to know what Bordeaux is going to get for it. I want to know what Madison is going to get for it. Everything concentrated for the downtown area. Everybody doesn't just live downtown. So the answer to that would have been no. Now that the Titan Stadium is here, and I've been told over and over, Natisha, that it's just a done deal, get over it, then we need to get with the state. Since they had $760 million that they have in gas taxes supposed to fill the potholes, maybe we can fill our communities with more community organizations and more. And if somebody asked about teachers, I'm going back to the teachers again. I'm fighting for the teachers because you said something about teacher increase. Well, did you forget about inflation? As inflation grows, what happens to the teachers' salaries? Nothing. We're still at a steadfast. We're still even keel. We still can't live here in our own city. So teachers, it's Tennessee teachers that matters. For our parents, for you that matters. Back to the question, it would have been a no vote on the Titan Stadium. And last but not least, our property taxes need to go back to where they were pre-COVID because I don't see where the money went to.
First and foremost, it should have been on a ballot. It should have been a referendum from the city. And the reason why is because taxpayer dollars played a part of it. You agree? And that should have never happened. Under my administration, I would have never, ever supported that. This is a $1 billion organization. Yes, we do enjoy, our Titans, we do. And we want them to start winning now that we got a new stadium, okay? We have to charge them for that, right? That's what we have to do. So it is very, very important to understand I would have never agreed to that, right? We have a 30% property tax right now. And to Ms. Brooks' point, 34% right after, during the most difficult time of our lives, COVID. And we have an increase in taxes. That was wrong, right? So I'm very intentional about having a plan. And I call myself the PEP. And that is that Fran will always have a plan in place. I will execute and progress will be made. So my point of it is that when you go to bed at night, you'll know that Fran Bush got your back. Because I'm not going to play when it comes to our city. It's just not going to happen. I am a native Nashvilleian. I lived around the corner on 17th Avenue North, and we know where that is, where Buzz Market used to be, right? And so therefore, I understand the investment, I understand our people, and I understand how to get the work done. Thank you.
Affordability is the issue of the moment. And I grew up here in Nashville. I was talking to a guy who owns a hotel yesterday, and he was saying, yeah, business is really great, but we can't afford to keep our rooms clean because people can't afford to live in Nashville. And we know that people are getting pushed out of Nashville, and we absolutely have to do something about that. And I looked at Black Nashville Assembly's policy on housing policy, and I think it makes a lot of sense. You talk about guaranteed basic income, community-controlled, local-owned, managed social and affordable housing, expanding rent and mortgage assistance, discontinuing declaration of blighted properties, stop seizing houses for tax reasons, stop ordinances that displace people, expand housing co-ops, fine landlords for racist policies, and tax landlords for 1+ year vacancies. That's good policy. I agree with that policy, and I think that that we absolutely should implement those things. The other thing is the state makes it hard for us to enter into affordable housing agreements because they don't allow it. And one thing we can do is look at financial tools to work around that, like leasing agreements. And then we also need to look at continuing to fund the Barnes Fund and public-private partnerships.
I think the question was, how did you vote? I was not running for mayor, and last July, I wrote a letter to the Metro Council expressing my concerns with the Titan Stadium. I also published an op-ed during the same month expressing the same concern. Common sense would tell you that a city like Nashville that enthusiastically supports 4 professional sports teams, that is at the top of the list for Major League Baseball, that is a vibrant, growing city with a robust tourist industry, should not be providing a subsidy that is 70% higher than the next worst deal. We know that there have been 8 stadiums built in the last 15 years, and the value that those stadiums have created for those owners is measured in the billions of dollars. But we decided to provide the largest subsidy ever. It is done, but I do think it provides a window into how people think. What is their level of fiscal responsibility? What are their priorities? What do they truly care about? Do they care about the people who live here? The everyday people who live here? We could have used that money. Instead, they voted for the stadium.
So let me give you some facts. Anyone who voted against the stadium voted against the people. Here's the deal. Tennessee State University paid $1 million to be in Nissan Stadium in the old deal. The new deal, they don't pay. The Titans will pay them. You have to understand what's really going on. What's happening with the state is all over. It's something that's happening from all of the supermajority states. Mississippi, Florida. As far as the stadium is concerned, we had 5 budget and finance chairs. 4 of them voted in favor of the stadium. And here's why. Because we got a 25% concession that is going to give $625 million back to small, minority, and women-owned businesses. That's $600,000 a day for the next 3 years that's going to provide us with the funding that we need in our communities, for our educational system, for our roads, for the housing, for the things it is that you all want, what we all want. I've been working for the community, you know it. The East Bank is where the money, real money is. It's a $20 billion development. If you don't do nothing, nothing changes. Growth keeps and removes the decline.
So I would have voted no. So imagine you're on an island And the Titan Stadium is in the middle of the island, and there's hotels, there's housing, and then you see a dome drop over that, right? And we're on the outside. We have potholes, we have high homicide rates, we have food deserts, sacrifice zones. We're a mess out here, right? But then you start seeing something that looks like snow coming down in the dome. It's not snow, it's money. It's money that's shooting out from all the properties and things that they put around them, right? But it's staying there. This is what they've created, right? And so as I was talking to my economist friends, he said, okay, we got out of 2 billion, but maybe we could have made 10 billion. And so what I want to do is completely get rid of our lawyers, get new lawyers, get contractual lawyers, get lawyers that will actually work for Metro, actually work for the people. I did nonprofit work across the country. And when there's an issue or anything that would happen, they would call me so I could do strategy and organize for them. And so right now we have an issue where we have people in office that are not strategizing and organizing and not listening to the people. And so the people said no, and we should have listened to them and said no.
I'm the only person on the stage who actually voted no on the stadium deal. And I know Senator Campbell doesn't want to actually talk about this question, but the two senators up here voted yes on the piece that would have enabled the state to put $500 million in that they then used to justify taking over 6 seats in our sports authority. Why does that piece matter? Because our sports authority right now is one of the very few black department heads in the city of Nashville. If things get too woke out here for us, they're one vote away from removing her with the state authority. Now, the fact is, I voted against the people who are very good at persuading us that billionaires deserve more of our public money. This Titans deal put $4 billion of our money encumbered for the next 30 years. There was a bad deal on the table, but we could have negotiated something far better. We have leverage. We should have used it. The question now is, as we look at the future of the East Bank, who do you trust most to build on public land the housing that is going to support people who work at the new stadium? Is it the people that accepted the deal or the people that were skeptical?
I think my colleague said that very well. I wasn't on the Metro Council when that deal came up, so I don't know all of the total details. I do know this. There was a lot of money spent that could have gone for affordable housing. That's no doubt. And now that the deal is here, we're going to have to make sure there's accountability. Even when they built the convention center, that was very hard for me to even come to the table to vote for that, because you know why? I didn't know what my community was going to get out of it. My community was Southeast Davidson, District 29. We could barely get a stoplight. We could barely get a fire hall. So if we're going to do these type of incentives, we have to make sure that we benefit. That is so very important, that all of Nashville benefit. Nashville is strong. There's no doubt about it. But Nashville has not been strong for all of us. Some of us who live in the same tax district rate, whether you're a general service district or you are urban service district, like Jolton is general service district, and another part of Bellevue is general service district. They don't have the same services. Bellevue has more services than Jolton. I'm from Southeast Davidson, District 29. We are the urban service district. Inner City East Nashville Urban Service District. We don't have sidewalks. Let's close the gap on economic parity and make sure when we give incentives that all of Nashville benefits. Thank you.
So on affordable housing, as I mentioned, I spent the last 3 years working right across from where Nissan Stadium is, working on affordable housing at MDHA, and that is a huge priority and a big part of the reason I'm running for mayor. On the Titans deal, I'm going to say a really unpopular thing. I would have voted for it, and here's why. We have a lease with the Titans that commits the city to provide the Titans with a first-class stadium. So we have a choice. Do we honor our commitment and honor the lease, or do we break it? And I believe you do not break your word. I will never break my word with you. So if we need to provide a first-class stadium, we then have two choices. Do we build a new one, or do we renovate Nissan Stadium? That's the only choice. And the state provided $500 million. We can debate whether that was an appropriate use of state dollars. But the deal was the state provides $500 million, Councilmember Suara understands this and explains it very well. We have a $840 million from the Titans and the NFL, and a 1% increase in the hotel occupancy tax, taxes paid by visitors to our city. That's how we're paying for the construction of the new stadium. The renovation of Nissan Stadium, whatever that costs, $500 million, $1 billion, or more, the only source of funding for those renovations, the only source, or your property tax dollars and your sales tax dollars. That money should go to education and housing, not to renovate Nissan Stadium.
So I think this is important to talk about because there's a lot of people who seem to be saying that they weren't for spending public money on a stadium, which makes sense. Titan Stadium isn't the most important thing going on in our city. We all know that. But there's not anybody up here that wasn't for spending public money on a stadium. Nobody. They wanted to spend public money coming from your property taxes on renovating the current stadium. That's the dollars that we use to fund your kids' schools. That's how we pay for police officers. It's how we pay for the things that make this city work. My priority in the state legislature, and I'm proud of this work, frankly, is I got your property tax dollars out of the football stadium business and put it onto hotel taxes and put it onto the development that comes around this stadium, because that development should pay for whatever that development is. And your property tax dollars should keep doing the work they're doing. Now, I think what people in Nashville are right to be upset about is it feels like we don't solve problems between building stadiums around here. I don't think people mind that there's a soccer field. I think they mind there's no sidewalks in their neighborhoods. I think they don't mind that we do big projects. They know we're a big city, but it breaks our Metro Council. We got to spend 8 months for everybody. We feel paralyzed and don't pay attention to what's going on in North Nashville and Bellevue and Antioch and Hermitage like we should, because we are overly focused on that.
How do we rebuttal?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much. So I saw
My
council
name-
members Hurt.
My name was mentioned. Can I say something if my name was
Okay, so
mentioned?
let's go. Yeah, we'll go with you first, Senator Campbell.
I just want to back up Matt Wilshire and Senator Yarbrough on what they said. I think it's really important to understand that the misinformation that was disseminated, or the lack of information that was shared on that subject, is really important, because it's important that we understand that was a decision between what the people who voted against this would have been supporting us spending more money, more of our taxpayer dollars on renovating the current stadium. So it wasn't as if we were taking money that could have been used for education and putting it into a stadium. So I want to make sure that people understand that.
Thank you. Just a reminder to the participants, you have a 30-second rebuttal time.
Are you rebuttal? So I think we had Councilmember Hurt, and then I saw Assessor Wilhoit, and then we'll go to you, and then we'll come back to Councilmember Freddie O'Connell. Does that sound right? And then I guess we'll go to Jim. All right, and then are you holding your hand up too? Okay, so we'll go to you. So we it's 30 seconds, friends. 30 seconds. I think we're starting with Councilmember Hurt. Is that right? Yep.
So it is about misinformation. The information that most of the people got was to their emotions. It starts with the money. The East Bank is a $20 billion product. The 25% concessions is going to be $10 million coming back into $10 million a day coming back to our communities.
Thank you. Yep, we'll start down there.
You ready for me? You ready for me?
Yeah, you
okay,
can go.
Sorry. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on the budget for MMPS. Matt had mentioned, wave your hand, Matt, so they'll know. Yeah, there you go. That he had mentioned that the budget or the teacher raises come from the state. Just for clarification, Governor Lee did do a minimum pay for teachers, which will be over the next 3 years. But the Metro Nashville School Board is who approves the budget for our teacher raises. So I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, leave my name out of it because I didn't have anything to do with the Titan Stadium. Little big government has nothing to do with my little bitty wallet. It should have been put to a vote, just like transit was put to a vote of whether we wanted the Titan Stadium or not. You don't govern our wallets. We govern our wallets. So that's why the Titan vote should have never been on the board. And the last thing I want to say, the $50,000 on the teacher's budget, it's not $50,000. We need $70,000. I'm gonna keep. Oh,
Saying
okay.
what Governor Lee did.
Okay.
I'm just making the facts.
All right.
Thank you so much. We'll go to Councilmember Hurt. Oh, you went. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Assessor Wilhoit, thank you so much.
I think it's about to be said. I'm going to let Councilmember O'Connor go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Assessor. I'm happy to give it back right after. So this is great. I mean, I wish we had this much informed discussion when the vote was going on with the public about how these funding sources work. It will be very, very unlikely, in fact, nearly impossible for anybody on this stage who becomes mayor to avoid spending in a capital spending plan using general obligation dollars that puts bonds, that put property tax pressure on for the next 4 years. And the question all of us should be asking, we've got $500 million allocated to the East Bank that's coming from us. And all of us should wonder, where is that in our neighborhoods?
Great.
So,
Okay, we'll
all
go
right,
to you,
so-
then we'll come.
So
to
my
the
mother
end.
said never chase a lie, but I got to chase this one, okay? Let me just say this. Your tax rate is the second lowest tax rate in Davidson County history. Don't let no one tell you that your tax has gone up. Your tax rate has gone down. What is going up is your building, your value, your home, your business. That's called appreciation. And you didn't buy it for it to depreciate, you bought it to appreciate. And it is my office that does the appreciation. And right now you have the opportunity to appeal your values. But I'm running for mayor, and I hope to hear and have your vote. Thank you.
Look, you can't lead people if you're not willing to level with them. It's just all there is to it. And everybody on the stage knows that the $500 million came from the state for that stadium is not, that was not a gift for Nashville to choose what we want to do with it. That was not going to come here or to anybody's neighborhood if it wasn't going to that project. We got to do what we can to make this city work. And look, yeah, there's going to be some infrastructure there, but I don't believe that the right thing is to kick the can down the road on making the infrastructure that we know we need to do to not have flooding and make transportation work. I think we should do that when it's required.
And yeah, wait, I think we'll go with you, and then we'll go to the last person, Stephanie. You want to go first? Go ahead.
Okay, so we can say no all we want, but I think it was over a 9-month period. What coalitions did you build? What collaborations did you build to go into the community and say, engage, put up another contract, get economists involved, get other lawyers involved, to get people to come up and say no? You know, so I mean, you may have shown up at the end, but were your council people engaging you for that full 9 months that it was going on? And so, yes, they can say whatever right now, but what was happening over that months period, those months or year-long periods?
So look, I think it's a false choice to say we had to choose between renovating the existing stadium and just a bad deal. We could have negotiated a better deal, but I'll tell you, I'm the only person who's not an elected official that showed up at the Metro Council meeting, the third one in which we were allowed to actually make a public comment, argue that we respected people before in 1996, we respected them on the transit referendum, and we should have put this up for a vote.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this spirited discussion. So, friends, we are going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back with audience questions. So, again, if you want to ask a question, our friend Trey and Brandon have note cards for you and some pens. We'll take a 5-minute break for folks to move around, use the restroom, and we'll be back. We'll come back at 2:31.
Again, we're gonna keep schedule. You have a 5-minute break. Make sure you get your questions in right now. Make sure you get your questions in right now.
And we'll come back at 2:31, and then we'll take some questions, and we'll be wrapping up by 3 o'clock.
When you raise up the rate, how many seconds you giving them after that? You give me that look, I'll just talk time, start time. If you have questions, again, you need to turn them in. If you have questions, you need to turn them in.
All right, y'all, we got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. All righty, friends, let's make our way to our seats. It's 2:31. We want to get y'all out of here at 3 o'clock. So please join us back on the stage, candidates. Please make sure you get your questions to Trey and Brandon. Thank you again to everyone for joining us. We're super excited to see so many people come out to learn more about the candidates for mayor. But yes, please. Okay. All righty, y'all, and we're taking our seats so we can start and get folks out of here at 3 o'clock. We want to be on time and get y'all to your other festivities. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you so much. Y'all got, okay. All righty, y'all. Thank you so much. We're gonna get started with our first question. Thank you again for the audience participation. Oh yeah, you wanna, sorry. You wanna get- Okay, got you. Oh, sorry. Wait, no, one more person. We'll wait. How y'all feeling today? Good? Y'all feel like y'all learning? I feel like I'm learning so much. Yes, yes, and thank you again to our candidates and also your team, because I know this is hard work. So shout out to you and your team for keeping up with your schedule, and thank y'all for being here with us. So yes, shout out to y'all. Let's get started, and so we'll just have 60 seconds to answer these questions from the audience.
So while Erica's about to read them off, I just want to remind the candidates we have 60 seconds. Now we're running on time, so we have a hard stop. So we're gonna have to be way more aggressive about controlling it. So as soon as you see this red one, start rapping, or we will have to cut you off.
So we'll start with one question around like transit. So the question is around, what is your regional transit plan? What is your plan to ensure that North Nashville gets smart development? And what have you done in the past for North Nashville? And if we can start on our end, if that's fine with you.
So I have family that lives in North Nashville. My plan for transit is one, put it to a vote. Always put it to a vote. It's not what I think, it's what you think. Let's go up. I've already met with the NDOT director. Fast bus track from Murfreesboro into Nashville, downtown into the airport. Let's go up. Monorail. Where do we get the money? $760 million is not used for potholes. I'll ask the governor for that. And then finally, you remember the 3 cents tax bill? I just need 1 penny of it, so we don't put the bill to you. That's my answer for the transit. Thank you.
When it comes to transient, we definitely got to get more intentional. We are really 20 to 25 years behind the ball. So we have to have a mayor that's going to be very intentional, who gets that work done. And it has to be of urgency. When it comes to transit, I want every neighborhood to be touched. It's not about one community. It's about all communities. When it comes to North Nashville, I have invested in the Tennessee State University. I got my bachelor's degree and my graduate degree, so I am fully invested in North Nashville. And my grandmother, my late grandmother, house is still in the neighborhood. So it has not gone to regentrification. How about that? Thank you.
So North Nashville, I put together teams and came and worked with Gideon's Army to clean up after the tornado, which, as you know, devastated North Nashville, and continue to support and lift up organizations that support North Nashville. As far as transit goes, I think we should look at moving Radnor Yards, which is right by Hundred Oaks, to Wilson County, because if we do that, it becomes an 840 or an outer loop for freight, and then that frees up our inner train lines so that we can actually use those for transit. We can use those for trains. We could also use those for bus routes or multimodal connectivity. As you guys know, Nashville's been kind of haphazardly built, and so in order to get space to actually put real meaningful transit in, it's going to be difficult. And so I think that would be one thing that we could look at. And then we also have to build up multimodal connectivity so that we aren't walking along a sidewalk and it just ends.
So the frustrating thing for many of us is transit is one more example where as a city we've studied the issue over and over again, and yet here we are today. I think there's 3 things that we'd have to focus on. One is we had 49 pedestrian deaths last year. You have to have a city that is safe for pedestrians. So there are common sense things that we could do in terms of redesigning dangerous intersections, actually accelerating the rate at which we put in speed control. Second, do common sense stuff with transit. That is everything from increasing the frequency of routes, or increasing the frequency of service on our highest volume routes, rapid transit bus service in from the airport. Ultimately, though, every great system is a regional system. 90% of our population growth in the last 5 years has been in the surrounding counties, and those folks are all driving into town, and we need to have a regional solution, starting with something coming from Murfreesboro.
We're going to have a regional plan. I think we got to have short-term as well as a long-term plan. Maybe get our students on those magnet students on buses and reduce that. We're going to have to reduce the congestion, and we're going to have to expand our rail systems. What I've done for North Nashville is create affordable housing for hundreds of families. I've done a workforce development program that got 500 people hired, 2,000 people trained. I've done a driver's license restoration program that got thousands of dollars saved for people. I've done economic development for all of Jefferson Street businesses as well as Buchanan businesses. I have also done instruments in the inner city for our children. I've had a LEAP program for our children. I have done beautification with the Gateway to Heritage that we have here. I've actually transformed this community, transformed 2 nonprofit organizations because I'm the executive director of StreetWorks, where we focus on people who are infected with HIV and AIDS and prevention with a needle exchange program.
Okay, so for transit, I would do circular transportation in every district. So downtown kind of has circular transportation where they have some free buses, trolleys, golf carts. And so you create that in every community so they can work within their communities and then connect to a larger transit system, because we're out of tune. So everybody has to be lifted up and then we move forward. And then we talk about food deserts. So I found out there was a food desert in North Nashville. So in 2 months, I set up a farmer's market on my church's lawn. Shout out to Mount Olive Missionary Baptist Church. Had Black farmers, Black vendors. Community didn't really support it, but we can do it again. And then we're going to set up a historically Black neighborhood ordinance for historically Black communities, where we do displacement assessments. We prioritize residents living in those zones for down payments, home repairs, and then we put a moratorium on some development that's happening here so we can ensure that our people are getting money from that.
So we actually have a great regional transit plan. It's called In Motion. I helped work on it when I was on the MTA board of directors. What we also have is a lack of willingness over the past several years to invest in that plan and implement it. Right now in our $3.2 billion budget, the mayor's recommendation comes up $2.6 million short on our being able to implement a work plan for better bus service that connects across town. If you'll want to do something meaningful after this, go right to your council member, tell them to go find that $2.6 million with me, and we will have crosstown routes that serve the city more effectively starting as soon as this fall. If we don't come up with that shortfall from WEGO's request, we will not get those routes. Now, in North Nashville, I can't take any individual credit. I've worked with people like Sharon and Matt on this stage to do things like get the first pocket park on Jefferson Street, work on getting Jefferson Street resurfaced, which was a multi-year fight, but now we don't have to worry about our shocks anymore when we drive up and down it. It's one of our legacy corridors. It deserves respect. We've also built mixed income housing like 10th and Jefferson, Randy Rogers Apartments, and I'll continue to make those investments.
In reference to transit, we're going to have to do first some of the low-hanging fruits. Some of those low-hanging fruits that has been mentioned has already been mentioned by my fellow candidate Gingrich. And I think those low-hanging fruits are very important. The type of transit we're talking about is mass transit that's going to take lots of dollars. And by the time we be able to fund that, some of us may not be around. Let's begin by looking at some things like 840. When you're talking about trucks coming through Nashville, 840 can be expanded and go around Nashville so that it doesn't have to come through Nashville. We can work with the state in doing that. And of course, again, as I stated before, the low-hanging fruit in reference to ensuring that we can get traffic through Nashville effectively and efficiently. Lastly, in reference to what I've done in North Nashville is to make sure that you are aware of the tax freeze, tax relief, and tax deferral program. It was in 2017 when I brought NOAA to the table and say, this is your agenda. Let's tell people don't sell your property. Know how to stay in your property. Thank you.
1 minute isn't long, so I'm going to talk fast. First, on North Nashville, I've worked for years and years with MDHA and economic development to provide job opportunities for folks in North Nashville. We've created mixed income housing, pocket parks, as Freddie referred to, and created job opportunities that folks have been able to take advantage of and houses for folks to live in. There is a lot more work to do, and I commit to do it. On regional transportation, I'll renew the mayor's caucus, which has been neglected for the last 3 years. On transit, I will begin my first day in office constructing dedicated bus rapid transit from the airport downtown, which is not for tourists, but so that we can have affordable housing at transit stops so folks who work downtown or work at the airport, which is a large employer, can get to work without having to pay $50 or $60 for parking. We will do this with leadership together, but it takes community engagement, and I'm going to ask for your help to make that happen.
So for the last 9 years, I've worked in close partnership with both Representative Harold Love and Representative Vincent Dixie on playing a lot of defense on TSU against some true nonsense at the state, but also to advance some real solutions. We worked with Matthew Walker Clinic to expand oral health care work in the state. We are working with neighborhood nonprofits to try to get property tax abatements so that people can offer sub-market rents to people here. We are also working to try to increase the dollars that go to violence interruption programs that are actually very effective and be critical to maintaining safe neighborhoods. When it comes to transit, this is something that is near and dear to my heart. I served for 5 years on the board of the MTA at a time when we were growing and expanding service in this community and across our city, and we got to get back to that kind of business, because when Taylor Swift comes to town for a concert, that's when your transit system ought to shine. Like, it broke ours. We got to do better than that.
Thank you so much. Was there a rebuttal or please?
Don't forget you have a 30-second rebuttal.
Okay, my 30-second rebuttal is that I probably have created about 25 coalitions, because I create one almost every year. Dr. Judy and Reverend Chris knows that. I've also created a shuttle services that served 13 senior facilities in this community for 13 years because of the food desert that we had here. I reunited the community by creating the Jefferson Street Jazz and Blues Festival to showcase the businesses on Jefferson Street that is 23 years old.
Beautiful. So we have one more. We're gonna have one more question, then we'll get to closing, unless there's a rebuttal. Please go ahead.
30 seconds on the rebuttal.
Thank you. One thing we haven't talked about are the seniors and those that are disabled when it comes to transit. Our program on day one will focus on seniors not paying to park. Seniors have done enough. Pay to park, to eat in Nashville is ridiculous. $30 to park. So seniors, those that are disabled, our transit system will definitely include some package that you will be able to live and ride in the city that you live here.
Thank you so much for that. So we tried to synthesize folks' questions so we could get to the root of them, and then questions that we don't get to today, we'll attempt to find another forum to answer them. But there are quite a few questions around public safety. Just want to name that on Tuesday evening, a 4-year-old Talia, Black girl in Nashville, was unfortunately, she was shot while in the car with her 2 siblings and a family friend. And she died as a result of those gunshot wounds. And so, folks have been really calling, and someone already mentioned talking about real investments into community-driven public safety that actually prevents gun violence. And, we talked about credible messenger programs to interrupt the transmission of violence between community members. So really curious, as mayor, would you commit to investing in credible messenger programs so that we can prevent and stop harm and gun violence before it even happens? And I think sorry. Oh, yes, that does not include the police. So we want to start, I can't remember what side we started on. I'm sorry, y'all. We're going to let's go this way. Thank you so much. I can ask the question again.
Sorry.
Yeah. So as mayor, would you be willing to invest in an alternative to police, a credible messenger program?
So yes, absolutely. And not just I'm not just saying that, I've been doing that work. I mean, I've been pushing that legislation for years the last 2 years with Harold Love. We are not seeing the state buy into it, at least not in a way that's not going to run through the either sheriffs or police departments. And that's just from an evidence standpoint, not what is shown to be effective when it comes to violence interruption. And we have to do that. We also got to do something about these guns. and I'm not new to this. This is one of those things where we have been failing families for far too long, and I think it's unfortunate that it took this most recent Covenants incident for us to start really paying attention to how many lives have been shattered by gun violence, and as a community, because like that is the work that I've been working on, and as mayor, I will put the full weight of the city's resources to dealing with that issue.
On violence interruption programs, not only do I commit to, but I already have participated in those at MDHA. And I think it is vitally important to continue that work. In addition, I will continue to fund and expand the Partners in Care program that has professionals with mental health expertise respond to incidents of violence to try and de-escalate those. We need to have better responses to folks who are in crisis. Further, as we are looking at the scourge of gun violence, I am very hopeful that the state senators are able to make progress at the state level. As you all know, all gun legislation is a federal and state issue, but there are things that we can do at the city level, and I've spoken about them and will do them. The first is I will work with the district attorney to enforce gun forfeiture orders that are currently not enforced. Folks who commit domestic violence should not have access to a weapon to harm their partner. I will make sure that happens.
Certainly, communication with the community is very important, and investing in those programs is first and foremost. But we have to do more. Our thoughts and prayers is just not enough. In reference to controlling of guns, yes, we must do more, and I would definitely want to use my voice as mayor to enforce, to help the mayor help the governor make the decision in background checks, and the fact that students, background checks, and the fact that a person who's of the age of 21 should not be having, 18 should not be having guns. That's so very important. We have to get to the root of why we're here too as well. So we need to also invest in those organizations that are doing the work already, that's on the ground. People with mental health issues and organizations, and in reference to those who are working with children who may not have some place to go. Earlier I said, I couldn't think of the same, but it's a devil mind is, there I go again, the idle mind's a devil workshop. Let's do more to expand these programs to help get to the root of the problem to make sure that we can reduce gun violence. Thank you.
There are a lot of us who didn't wait for Covenant to wake up. In fact, becoming a representative for some of the first young people that I had to be their representative. They were my constituents, young people who got gunned down within months of my taking office. In fact, one of them happened right in Napier, and we'll come back to that in a second. But Mayor Berry actually swung into action, and she created a youth violence summit just about 8 years ago in response to a rising tide of gun violence impacting Nashville's youth. That youth violence summit covers so many of the topics that we've been talking about today, and we should reinvest in that work. We should do the credible messenger piece. We should also continue the community safety partnership funds that have helped make Napier a safer community over just the past few years. When I took office, this was a place that we had homicides nearly every week. Now we have community safety meetings that are focused on opportunity because we have systematically taken strides to make the community safer. And it is comprehensive safety. It is not just more police. That's what I want to continue working on when I'm mayor.
So there's something called the Center for Problem-Oriented Policing, and it has every single crime you can think of broken down, and every single way you solve it is by going to the community first and creating working groups, and I think what you're talking about is working groups. And so basically they set the standard, and so they go back and forth with the police, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and then the police are following that strategic plan as far as working in the community. Also, in my first 6 months, I want to do a 35 district gun back program that goes beyond just giving money, but other things that speaks to the social issues that people have going on. So they've tried smaller gun back programs, but what if we did one that's completely across town on the same day at the same time, if we really want to get guns off the street and move forward?
We absolutely have to have common sense gun laws and red flag laws, and I will definitely be an advocate. But when you can't get other people to do what it is that need to be done, you do like I do, and you create those programs yourself. You work with those other people that have created programs, like with Clement Greenlee and Earl Jordan and Partners in the Struggle, and all of you all, the Black Nashville Assembly, who really does care and are out here working and doing it every day, as we have been for the past 25 years. I am in the trenches, have been for the past 25 years, and I will take that same aggression to the mayor's office to ensure that no community, no block is left behind, because we got the tale of two cities, and that has to change. I am the change that this city needs.
So I was in Warner Elementary not that long ago. I asked third graders, what is the one thing Nashville needs? And they said things like more kindness, fewer knives, less stabbing, more love, fewer shootings. It just tells you where we are as a city. And it's unfortunate that we have had communities that have had to deal with this for a long time. I am firmly committed to doing things that work. And one of those is we need a comprehensive crime prevention strategy in this city. There will be an Office of Public Safety reporting to me as mayor that will focus on programs that have proven to work, one of which is violence interruption. But there are a whole series of other programs in terms of working with youth in school that are at risk, after-school programs, workforce development programs, community beautification and community investment programs. And you will see my office coordinate across all of Metro, but also with community partners. That's what we're going to do.
I filed common sense gun legislation every year I've been in the Senate, and I just last week filed 17 common sense gun regulations. We're not going to probably get anywhere with that in the state, but the mayor does have the ability to use the bully pulpit to model and message common sense gun regulations. That's something we have to do. I also think smart city technology is something that we can implement to make sure that our streets are safe and that we have good lighting and that everything is coordinated. Our street lights are coordinated. The efficiency that we can gain from implementing some of those modifications is an opportunity cost that we can't afford to ignore.
Let's face it, gun violence is up. It's up. And it's up the ages 14 and 26 years old right now amongst our Black and brown boys and young men. And you heard me tell you earlier that I have five Black boys, right? I kept them out of jail, right? It's hard. It's hard. But you want someone who has experience and who knows how to help deal with this issue. And I've done that. I've empowered parents. But I will tell you, and be honest, we have to go back to the schools. We have to be able to go back to the schools because our elementary students and our middle school and high school students are the ones that we need to really focus on so we can give them that support. We have to go there. If we can do that, graduation rates go up, crime goes down. In the first year of my administration, it's a bold statement, but 50% of the crime in our city will be reduced because I'm going to be very intentional and very aggressive because it's about urgency. Thank you.
Two roads diverge in the Yellowwood, and yes, we will travel. All roads leads to mental health. Mental health clinics on every corner possible, fully funded by the state legislature. Small business, all roads leads to small businesses. Because we're short 240 officers, would you like to start a security business? The mayor's job is to be the liaison between the city and the state. I'm going to ask the legislature, that means you, Senator Campbell and Senator Yarborough, for money to help those that need to start up their security, to help our crime, because 47 minutes to wait for an officer for a car accident is not acceptable. It's not even acceptable for a crime. So we're going to need help with you individuals out there that would like to start a security company to help us with the crime here in Nashville.
Thank you so much. And so we're going to go a little bit over, hopefully only 6 minutes. But we want to give you an opportunity to close on why we should vote for you. And we'll start on the end, just 60 seconds, why we should vote for you for mayor. We'll start back at where we ended. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Great job, Miss Erica. My name is Natisha. They call me Natisha R. Miss Brooks. I'm asking for your vote, support, and if you have it, your cash, so that we can keep our campaign fully funded. Adoption and foster care. We need to get our kids off the streets, and because if we don't get them off the streets, if we don't get them into loving homes, then what we have is human trafficking. And we have not talked about human trafficking in any of our forums yet. So I'm asking you for your vote to support small businesses, take the property taxes back to where they were pre-COVID, support our small businesses, cut the business taxes, and finally, our teachers, our police officers, our special ed, sanitation workers, bus drivers, I see you. Living wages so that you can live in the city that you protect, serve, and teach. I ask you for your vote. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here today. It's been a pleasure and it's been a blessing to be amongst you. First and foremost, you want someone in that mayor's office that's very intentional, that has the leadership, that has the proven work that I've done for our 80,000 students, parents, bus drivers, teachers, support staff. My history and my record is my record. I want to take the experience that I have from the education realm into our city. I understand it. I know it. This is my home. I grew up in North Nashville. I'm a native. This is about common sense. This is about getting the work done. And I am all about urgency. If it's not urgent, then it doesn't even matter at that point. It doesn't matter. And it's so frustrating to see what's happening in our city, because you have to have someone with common sense. You have to have someone that knows how to get this work done. And I've done it for our kids. I've done it for our families. I've done it for parents, our grandparents. And I ask you for your vote. My name is Fran Bush. Thank you so much.
So you're looking at a panel here of really great people who have great ideas, and a lot of them are very similar. How do you decide? It's about experience, temperament, and ability. And I am the only person here who has been a mayor. I served on the Regional Mayor's Caucus, so I've worked with regional mayors, and that's an important leverage point with our legislators so that we can work with the legislature. I am a state senator, and I have the relationships with and an understanding of how the state legislature works. And right now, we need that in Nashville because we are being attacked by the state legislature. And I've been endorsed by my colleagues in the state legislature, Bob Freeman, John Ray Clemens, Bo Mitchell, School Board member Cheryl Mays, Senator Sarah Kyle, and Representative Gloria Johnson, because they know me, they trust me, and they know that I have the ability and the experience to get the job done.
So we've spent this afternoon talking about a series of issues like affordability and safety, education, transit, that are fundamental to our quality of life. And these are issues that in particular impact the middle class and our marginalized communities. I hope you're as upset as I am that we have been talking about these same issues for more than a decade. Because today we have done precious little up until this point to get anything done, and we have to stop talking about things. We need to start doing them. I'm the only person on this stage that has ever led anything of the scale and scope of our metro government. And as I said earlier, as I got to that position, not by kicking the can on tough problems, but by taking them on and showing that I could deliver a result over and over again. I didn't grow up in the world of politics, and I'm not going to become one tomorrow either.
So I'm here to tell you or remind you of the work that I've done. And I'm going to continue to do that. I'm not going to make the promises, but you look at my record. I have been endorsed by a national organization, Elect Black Women. I've been endorsed by 40 pastors here. But I want you to know that I'm the person that sponsored the Community Oversight Board. And that was the most effective thing I think that happened out of that council since I've been a council member for the past 8 years. I am going to form an Office of Accountability and Enforcement to make sure that we continue to hold our police accountable, make sure that we have some equity amongst all of our communities. That's been the problem. It's been too many people getting the same thing and not others getting enough. And I'm going to make sure that we bring that balance to our communities. I am Sharon Hurt. I ask for your support and your vote.
If you want new ideas, innovative ways to solve problems in a communal focus, you'll vote for me. Some people don't want to change things, they just want power. So if you want a revolution in Nashville, you'll vote for Stephanie Johnson, stephformayor.com.
This is an important afternoon because you all have built Black Power, filled the church, and invited 10 people running for mayor to access that and offer your vote. So I'm honored to be here with you this afternoon. My name is Freddie O'Connell. I am a Nashville native, and I want to use the experience that I've had representing District 19 and many other things as a neighborhood transit and nonprofit leader and Metro Council member to focus on the priorities that the city needs. That's what we're doing. We're focusing on our community's needs. I'm ready on day one to do the job. And I'm going to say something that I've said in various rooms. As we watch the city become unaffordable and less accessible, as we watch the state become more unbearable, I know a lot of people are thinking of leaving, and I'm ready to work with people to keep people here. And that includes everybody here. I want you to stay. I'm eager to have the opportunity to earn your vote, and thank you so much for having us.
Well, I'm Vivian Wilhoit, and I asked you for your vote. And if you vote me as mayor, you won't leave. You want to stay. Why? Because you matter. Why do you matter? It's because the platform that I'm running on is stronger neighborhoods and stronger businesses. For so many years, there has been a competing issue, stronger neighborhoods and stronger businesses, and as if they were fighting at each other. If you want to live in a great neighborhood, you want a great job. If you want to live in if you want to have a great job, you want to live in a great neighborhood. But neighborhoods have not been funded and have not been given the same services. North Nashville, South Nashville. We're both in the same district, in the same tax rate, and we have different services that's provided. We have to keep doing that in reference to closing that economic parity gap, making sure we all have services that we need. And then when we speak about giving people pay, we must give them competitive pay. It's so very important. That's what I did in my office, and that's what I would do for Nashville, because competitive pay is what we need. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Matt Wilshire, and I'm asking for your vote, as these other folks are. And I'm honored to be here today with you and on the stage with this incredibly talented group of candidates who we're all asking you for your support. I've made a couple of other asks today. I've talked about how we can have a better funded public education system, but I need your help to make it happen. I've talked about how we can have mass transit in our city starting the first day that I'm inaugurated, but I'm going to need your help to make it happen. I am here asking for your vote, but over the next 4 and I hope 8 years, I'm going to need your help, and I'm going to need to listen. And I'm asking you to share your ideas about how we make this city better, and then to do the work with me to make that happen. Our city is stronger when everyone has a seat at the table. So I'm asking to sit at the table with you and make our city better. I'm Matt Wilshire. I'm asking for your vote.
I'm Jeff Yarbrough, and I really appreciate this group of people spending a Saturday afternoon where it's beautiful outside here, because this election matters a lot to the future of our city, and we all know it. There are a lot of people who aren't on this stage and who couldn't find this room with a map in an hour who want to control the future of our city. We got people in the legislature that want the city of Nashville to look how they want it to look. We got people who run businesses who want to use Nashville as an ATM without investing in it. And you need a mayor that you can trust to be in that fight and who knows how to win. You need a mayor who knows that the cranes that we see in downtown Nashville may represent our growth, but they don't represent our aspirations for what's great about our city. We can grow, sure, but this has to remain a safe city for our children to grow up and a great place for our seniors to grow old.
Thank you so, so much. Please give them all a hand. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. I'm just going to close really quickly. One, I do want to invite everyone to a visual for Talia that's going to be tomorrow at Shelby Park at 6 o'clock. I invite folks to join us to really honor her life and lift up that we really got to do the work to prevent and stop gun violence, especially as it concerns young people. The other thing, I just want to invite folks who are running for office, just, stand, give us a wave if you're running for office and you're in the space. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Thank y'all for taking time out to be with the Black Nashville Assembly today. And then we end our Black Nashville Assembly Black Ballot Week with the candidate forum for at-large and South Nashville candidates at C. Hubbard on Thursday at 6 o'clock. I invite you to join us there. Again, thank you so much for coming with us. I hope you get the button and a flyer on your way out, and y'all have a really great Saturday. Thank you again.